In the high-stakes world of Mumbai's media elite, where influence is the most valuable currency, Indrani and Peter Mukerjea represented a pinnacle of power and success. Their lives, seemingly a portrait of glamour and connections, concealed a dark and labyrinthine reality that would eventually erupt into one of India's most sensational and perplexing criminal cases. At the heart of this saga is Sheena Bora, a 25-year-old executive at Mumbai Metro 1 who on April 24, 2012, vanished without a trace. For 3 long years, her absence was explained away by a carefully constructed lie. She had moved to the United States for higher studies, a decision that to many seemed like an investment in her future. The truth, however, was far more sinister and had nothing to do with academic ambitions, but with secrets that threatened to destroy a financial and social empire. The entire case hinges on a foundational deception that predated the crime by years. Sheena Bora was not, as she had been introduced to society and even to her stepfather Peter Mukerjea, Indrani's younger sister. She was her biological daughter. This single, profound falsehood was the wellspring from which a torrent of secrets, betrayals, and ultimately violence would flow. In August 2015, the facade shattered when the Mumbai police, acting on a tip from an unlikely source, arrested Indrani Mukerjea for the abduction and murder of her own child. The subsequent investigation and protracted trial would peel back the layers of a complex family drama, exposing a world where past secrets collided violently with present ambitions, a world where control over the narrative and the family's assets was worth more than life itself. This case captivated and horrified a nation, revealing the depths one might sink to protect a life of lies and the money that sustains it. This is a puzzle of hidden identities, forbidden relationships, and a desperate search for the truth. If you are fascinated by complex mysteries and want to understand every detail of this shocking case, subscribe to the True Crime Bharat channel and turn on notifications because this is a story you won't want to miss. To comprehend the motives alleged by the prosecution in the Sheena Bora murder case, one must first navigate the extraordinarily complex and often contradictory web of relationships that defined the Mukerjea Bora family. This was not a straightforward family unit, but a convoluted structure built on concealed identities, past marriages, and simmering resentments. The prosecution's entire theory of why the crime was committed is rooted in the dysfunctions of this intricate familial labyrinth, where blood ties were overshadowed by social and financial ambitions. The central figure in this drama is Indrani Mukerjea, a woman whose life story is marked by reinvention and the careful curation of her public identity. Her journey began as Puri Bora in Assam. Her early life included a relationship with Siddhartha Das, which, according to Das, resulted in the birth of 2 children, Sheena and Mikhail. However, in a starkly different narrative presented in her memoir, Unbroken, Indrani later claimed that Sheena was conceived after she was raped by her own father, Upendra Kumar Bora, a secret the family allegedly kept hidden. This conflicting account of Sheena's paternity is a prime example of Indrani's pattern of constructing and altering narratives about her own past to suit her present circumstances, protecting the image that granted her access to a lifestyle of luxury and power. After leaving Assam, Indrani moved to Kolkata, where she married Sanjeev Khanna in 1993 and had a daughter, Vidya. Following her divorce from Khanna in 2002, she married the high-profile media baron Peter Mukerjea, then the CEO of Star India, cementing her position in Mumbai's elite circles and securing a robust financial future. A critical element of Indrani's new life in Mumbai was the systematic concealment of her first 2 children. When Sheena and her brother Mikhail moved to Mumbai in 2006, Indrani introduced them not as her children, but as her younger siblings. This deception was maintained for years, forming the bedrock of her public persona. The lengths to which Indrani allegedly went to protect this secret were extreme. Mikhail Bora made the explosive allegation that in 2006, Indrani had him forcibly committed to a mental institution and tortured for a month. an act he claims was intended to silence him and cover up her true identity as his mother. This accusation, if proven, establishes a history of ruthless measures taken by Indrani to prevent her past from derailing her meticulously constructed present, a present that involved a flow of money and influence she was unwilling to risk. Despite this tumultuous family background, Sheena Bora was building a life for herself in Mumbai. She earned a Bachelor of Arts from the prestigious St. Xavier's College and began a promising career, first as a management trainee at Reliance Infrastructure in 2009, and later as an assistant manager at Mumbai Metro 1 in 2011. The relationship that the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, alleges was the primary catalyst for the murder was the one between Sheena Bora and Rahul Mukerjea. Rahul is Peter Mukerjea's son from a previous marriage, making him Sheena's stepbrother. The two were in a serious long-term live-in relationship and by 2011 were engaged to be married. According to the prosecution, this relationship was a source of intense disapproval for both Indrani and Peter. Rahul's statement to the police details Indrani's fury upon learning of their romance. He claimed she made several attempts to separate them, including sending Sheena away to Delhi and Bangalore and allegedly providing her with sedatives disguised as medication for a mental illness. The couple's engagement in October 2011, undertaken with the blessing of Rahul's mother and Sheena's grandparents, would have significantly escalated the conflict, potentially serving as the final trigger for the violent events that unfolded 6 months later. Their union was not just a matter of family disapproval, it posed a direct threat to the family's power structure and inheritance, jeopardizing the distribution of a considerable fortune. The prosecution's account of the murder of Sheena Bora is a chilling narrative of premeditation, luring, and brutal execution, followed by a desperate attempt to erase all traces of the victim. This reconstruction relies almost entirely on the detailed confession of the driver-turned-approver, Shyamvar Rai, which provides a granular, moment-by-moment chronicle of the events of April 24-25, 2012. According to Shyamvar Rai's testimony, the murder was a calculated act. He alleged that Indrani had discussed the plan with her former husband, Sanjeev Khanna, and had even conducted a reconnaissance of a forested area in Raigad district as a potential site for disposing of the body a day before the crime. The plan was set in motion on April 24, 2012. Sanjeev Khanna flew from Kolkata to Mumbai and checked into the Hotel Hilltop in Worli. Indrani rented a silver Opel Corsa, which the prosecution claims was procured specifically for the abduction and murder. That evening, Indrani called Sheena and asked to meet her, ostensibly to discuss important matters, perhaps even a financial proposal to settle their differences. Though Sheena was reportedly reluctant, she agreed. At around 7 p.m., Sheena's fiancé, Rahul Mukerjea, dropped her off near National College on Linking Road in Bandra. Waiting for her were Indrani, Sanjeev Khanna, and Shyamvar Rai in the rented Opel Corsa. Rai's account states that Sheena was pulled into the car. Indrani sat in the front passenger seat next to Rai, who was driving, while Khanna sat in the back with Sheena. They drove to a secluded bylane in Bandra, where, according to Rai, the horrific act was committed. He alleged that Khanna strangled Sheena, while he held her legs and Indrani pinned her down, allegedly sitting on her face to smother her. With Sheena dead, the next phase of the alleged plan was concealment and disposal. The body was placed in a large bag and put in the trunk of the Opel Corsa. The car was then driven to and parked overnight in the garage of Marlow, the Worli residential building where Indrani and Peter lived. In the early morning hours of April 25, 2012, at approximately 4 a.m., Indrani, Khanna and Rai allegedly began their journey to dispose of the body. They drove towards the village of Gagod in Pen Tehsil, Raigad district. In a particularly macabre detail from Rai's confession, he claimed that to avoid suspicion at any potential police checkpoints, they removed the body from the trunk and propped it up on the rear seat between Indrani and Khanna, as if she were a passenger who had fallen asleep. Upon reaching an isolated spot in the forest, They dragged the body out of the car, stuffed it back into the bag, doused it with petrol, and set it ablaze. With the physical evidence supposedly destroyed, a multi-year campaign of deception began. Indrani informed everyone, including a frantic Rahul Mukerjea, that Sheena had abruptly left for the United States to pursue higher studies. To support this narrative, a resignation letter was sent to Sheena's employer, and a breakup text message was sent to Rahul from Sheena's mobile phone. When Rahul's persistent inquiries became a nuisance, Indrani allegedly went to the Worli police station and filed a complaint against him, accusing him of stalking Sheena, thereby using the authorities as a tool in her cover-up. The complexity of the plan and the effort to maintain the charade demonstrate how high the stakes were, not just in terms of reputation, but also control over a significant flow of money and assets. The story gets even more complex from here, with the investigation revealing shocking failures and twists in the courtroom. If you're finding this detailed breakdown helpful, please hit the like button to support our work and help us bring more cases like this to you. The unraveling of the Sheena Bora murder case was not the result of a methodical missing persons investigation, but a stroke of pure chance, a lucky break that tore through a 3-year-old wall of silence. The subsequent inquiry, however, was fraught with its own complexities, marked by a crucial confession, vital forensic breakthroughs, and significant procedural controversies that would later provide fertile ground for the defense. For 3 years, the secret held. The breakthrough came on August 21, 2015, when Shyamvar Pinturam Rai, Indrani Mukerjea's former driver, was arrested by the Mumbai police in an unrelated case involving the possession of an illegal firearm. It was during his interrogation for this offense that Rai, perhaps seeing an opportunity to save himself, allegedly broke down and confessed to his role in a far more heinous crime, the murder of Sheena Bora. His confession was the single explosive event that launched the entire investigation. He implicated Indrani Mukerjea as the mastermind and named her ex-husband, Sanjeev Khanna, as a co-conspirator. Recognizing the immense value of his testimony, the prosecution offered Rai the chance to turn a prover, a witness for the state who provides evidence in exchange for a potential pardon for their own role in the crime. Rai accepted, and his agreement to testify against his former employers became a pivotal turning point, providing the prosecution with its only purported eyewitness to the murder. Armed with Rai's confession, the police investigation moved swiftly to corroborate his claims. Rai led investigators to the exact location in the Raigad forest where he said the body had been burned and disposed of years earlier. At the site, they recovered a collection of charred remains, including fragments of a skull, teeth, and other bones. This led to the most crucial scientific breakthrough of the case. While forensic experts were unable to extract a viable DNA sample from the recovered teeth, they succeeded with a piece of a femur. In September 2015, forensic labs confirmed that the DNA profile extracted from the femur was a near-perfect match with the DNA of Indrani Mukerjea, establishing that the remains belonged to her biological child. This DNA evidence provided powerful scientific corroboration for Rai's story and definitively proved that the victim was Indrani's daughter, not her sister, shattering the core deception she had maintained for years. However, in what can only be described as a catastrophic failure for the prosecution, this critical piece of physical evidence was later compromised. During the trial, it emerged that the skeletal remains, the very bones that had proven Sheena's death and identity, were reportedly untraceable or missing from custody. The CBI later walked back this claim, informing the court that the bones had been found in a record room, Malkana, at their Delhi office. In a bizarre twist, however, the agency then stated that it would not be relying on these remains as evidence in the trial. This admission points to a severe and inexplicable breakdown in the chain of custody, effectively removing the corpus delicti, the physical proof of the crime, from the proceedings. This blunder handed the defense a powerful argument that the prosecution could not even produce the body of the person they alleged was murdered. Following Rai's confession and the initial DNA match, the arrests came quickly. Mumbai police arrested Indrani Mukerjea on August 25, 2015, Her ex-husband, Sanjeev Khanna, was apprehended in Kolkata the very next day. The initial phase of the investigation was personally and very publicly supervised by the then Mumbai Police Commissioner, Rakesh Maria. However, in a move that sparked widespread speculation, the case was abruptly transferred from the Mumbai Police to the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, on September 18, 2015. The CBI's investigation expanded the scope of the conspiracy. On November 19, 2015, the agency arrested Peter Mukerjea, alleging his involvement in the planning of the murder and the subsequent cover-up. The CBI also leveled accusations of a financial conspiracy, claiming Peter was involved in siphoning company funds into a bank account opened in Sheena Bora's name in Singapore, suggesting that control over finances was a central motive. The trial in the Sheena Bora murder case, which commenced in February 2017, has been less a swift pursuit of justice and more a protracted legal marathon, characterized by shocking revelations, strategic maneuvering, and debilitating delays. The CBI built its case around a dual motive theory, arguing that Indrani Mukerjea, with the active conspiracy of Peter Mukerjea and the assistance of Sanjeev Khanna, decided to eliminate Sheena for two primary reasons: financial disputes and disapproval of the relationship with Rahul. The prosecution alleged that Sheena, aware of her true relationship with Indrani, was making increasing financial demands. This was set against a backdrop of complex and allegedly illicit financial dealings by the Mukerjeas. A Serious Fraud Investigation Office, SFIO, report into the finances of their company, INX Media, described a web of sham transactions and front companies designed to manipulate funds, suggesting a high-stakes environment where a financial threat from Sheena could have been perceived as intolerable. The CBI further accused Peter Mukerjea of being involved in siphoning funds into an overseas account in Sheena's name, adding another layer to the financial motive. They feared that a marriage between Sheena and Rahul could lead to Sheena, as Indrani's daughter and Rahul's wife, laying claim to a significant portion of the family's assets and property, drastically altering the balance of power and the management of the family's wealth. The trial has become a battleground over the credibility of three central witnesses: Shyamvar Rai, Sheena Bora, and Rahul Mukerjea. As the sole approver and purported eyewitness, Rai's testimony is the linchpin of the prosecution's case. The defense has launched a sustained assault on his credibility, cross-examining him intensely and suggesting that his testimony was coached. Sheena Bora, Sheena's brother, provided testimony crucial for establishing Indrani's pattern of deception. Rahul Mukerjea, as Sheena's fiancé, was vital for demonstrating the cover-up, presenting evidence of his desperate searches and the misleading responses he received from Indrani and Peter. A significant factor contributing to the trial's glacial pace has been the prosecution's chaotic management of its witness list, which initially named a staggering 237 witnesses. This strategy backfired, leading to a series of confusing and contradictory moves, with the prosecution adding and dropping names, which fueled defense claims of a flawed and biased investigation. The accused have presented starkly different defenses. Indrani Mukerjea has consistently maintained her innocence, claiming she was framed by Peter Mukerjea. Peter's defense, in contrast, was that he was an unwitting victim of Indrani's deception, completely unaware of the plot. This defense gained significant traction when the Bombay High Court granted him bail in February 2020, with the judge noting that there was no prima facie evidence to prove his direct involvement in the crime. The trial has thus evolved into a legal quagmire, where the prosecution's own strategic and procedural missteps have become as central to the proceedings as the facts of the crime itself, raising profound questions about the capacity of the Indian judicial system to deliver timely justice. Beyond the confines of legal arguments and evidentiary standards, the Sheena Bora case is a human drama populated by complex individuals. Since their release on bail, key figures have actively sought to shape their own narratives through memoirs, interviews, and documentary appearances, creating a parallel trial in the court of public opinion. Indrani Mukerjea presents a study in contrasting personas. The prosecution has painted her as the cold, calculating mastermind of the plot. Since her release, however, Indrani has worked tirelessly to craft a counter-narrative, that of a victim. Her 2023 memoir, Unbroken, reframes her life story, notably introducing the claim that Sheena was born from a rape she suffered as a teenager. She has publicly dismissed the DNA evidence as forged and has clung to the claim that Sheena is still alive. The CBI's portrayal of Peter Mukerjea evolved over the course of its investigation. He was eventually labeled a silent killer by the prosecution, an equal and active participant in the criminal conspiracy. The prosecution pointed to his constant phone communication with Indrani around the time of the murder and his failure to take his son Rahul's desperate pleas about Sheena's disappearance seriously. Peter's defense consistently maintained that he was as much a victim of Indrani's deception as anyone else. Occupying a uniquely tragic position at the heart of this family implosion is Vidya Mukerjea, the daughter of Indrani and Sanjeev Khanna, who was later adopted by Peter. The CBI has named her as a prosecution witness. In her 2021 memoir, Devil's Daughter, Vidya provides a raw account of the trauma of the arrests. She describes Indrani as a tough lady with a temper, but also expresses a profound empathy for the hardships of her mother's childhood. In contrast, she describes Peter as the best stepfather a girl can have, and unequivocally takes his side against her mother's attempts to implicate him in the crime. Perhaps most damningly for Indrani's defense, it was revealed in the CBI charge sheet that early in the investigation, Vidya had told others that she had warned Rahul and Sheena to be careful because she believed her mother wanted to get one of them out of the way. More than a decade after the crime, and nearly 9 years after the arrests, the Sheena Bora murder case remains mired in legal proceedings, with a definitive conclusion still appearing distant. The current status of the case is defined by the pre-trial freedom of all its principal figures and a renewed court-mandated push to accelerate a trial that has been plagued by unprecedented delays. As of mid-2024, a remarkable situation has developed. Every individual accused in the murder conspiracy is out on bail. The trial itself has faced significant interruptions. In response to the slow progress, the Bombay High Court directed that the trial resume on a day-to-day basis, starting in March 2025, to ensure its expeditious completion. As the trial inches forward, the prosecution faces a formidable set of challenges. The prosecution's admission that the skeletal remains of the victim are untraceable for evidentiary purposes is an almost insurmountable handicap. With the physical evidence compromised, the case now rests disproportionately on the testimony of a single approver, Shamvar Rai. The prosecution's erratic handling of its witness list has not only been a primary driver of the trial's delay, but has also projected an image of a legal strategy in disarray. The Sheena Bora case has long since transcended its origins as a criminal investigation to become a cultural touchstone, a multi-layered saga of identity, deception, and ambition played out against the backdrop of modern, high-society India. It stands as a stark and troubling case study in the fallibility of the criminal justice system, where procedural delays, strategic miscalculations, and critical evidentiary mishaps can obscure the path to truth, perhaps irrevocably. The central haunting question of what happened to Sheena Bora on April 24, 2012, has been answered in detail by the prosecution's key witness. Yet, the legal proof of that answer has been eroded over time. With the physical evidence now absent from the trial, key investigators dropped from the witness list, and the accused free on bail and actively cultivating competing narratives in the public sphere, the prospect of a legally definitive and universally accepted conclusion appears increasingly remote. The trial may yet deliver a verdict, but it is difficult to see how any verdict could now resolve the deep ambiguities that have been allowed to fester. Whether the final chapter is one of conviction or acquittal, the story of Sheena Bora seems destined to remain what it has become. A great, unresolved Indian enigma, a cautionary tale of how the pursuit of money and status can lead to the darkest depths of human nature. What do you think really happened? Will justice finally be served in this case? Leave your opinion in the comments below. We'd love to know what you think. And if you haven't already, subscribe to True Crime Bharat for more deep dives into India's most intriguing cases. Thank you for watching.